Hello, everybody. Once again, it's your boy, it's your friend, it's the credit doctor, Angelo McCutcheon, coming to you with another credit repair video. Shout out to all my Facebook Live friends and all of my YouTube friends who are watching this live or even as a replay. Today we're going to be talking about the new laws that came out on today on how debt collectors can reach out to you now. Now, this is very, very important that you understand and that you know this process because as of today and going forward, they're going to be bombarding you with different ways of being able to reach out to you, even though we're going to talk about what the law actually says and how they're governed by that and what your rights are and what you need to know about that process. Again, my name is Angelo McCutcheon. I'm the founder of the Faithful Credit Group, LLC. We are a credit consulting group helping people build business credit and helping them with their personal credit. We've been doing this for over 10 years. You can contact us go to the description. You'll see all the information on how to contact us. But we've been helping people for over 10 years just clean up their credit, establish business credit. We have programs to help you do that. And you can, again, go into our description to find information about that. Okay, so with that in mind, let us talk about the new laws. Now, according to, the Fair Credit Reporting Act and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, in times past, the law said that the only way that a debt collector can contact you was through the phone, and then they added through email, right? So debt collectors will call your home, call your phone, your cell phone, your house phone, whatever the case may be, and sometimes they would abuse that practice by calling you multiple times a day. Frustrating you, getting mad at you, hanging up on you, cursing at you if you said you didn't pay the debt. So there were laws that actually govern how they are supposed to do that. And when they don't abide by the law, you can actually sue them for a violation of your rights. And in many cases, you can get up to $1,000, sometimes even more per violation, depending on what the nature of that violation is. So don't let debt collectors abuse you when it comes to speaking with them over the phone or them emailing you and things like that. But there was, they try it, because they think that most people don't know what their rights are, and so they get away with it. All right, so I'm going to be reading some information that I got from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the CFPB, which you can Google and get that information on that. But as of November 30th, which is today, there are new laws that are now enacted on how a debt collector can reach out to you. And I'm just going to name them, then we're going to read actually what it says here in the law. So not only can they reach out to you now through through telephone calls and emails, now they can actually reach out to you through Facebook. They can reach out to you through Instagram. They can reach out to you through those are probably the major two, because they can't, tweet at you, because the way the law says when they reach out to you, it has to be in a private message, right? They can't put it on your public page that, hey, you owe this debt to us, we're reaching out to you, things like that. You can sue them right off the back if they do that, right? But they can message you, and they can DM you if you have an Instagram, all right, or LinkedIn. They can inbox you, whatever way that they can reach out through social media that's in a private form, private setting, they now can do that. So not only through telephone and emails, but now through social media, debt collectors can reach out to you in connection with a debt. But there are some things that govern how they're supposed to do that. All right, so let me just read what we have here that comes directly from the Consumer Financial Protection. Collectors will be allowed to text, email, and DM you. All right, we just spoke on that. The only two communication methods mentioned in the original Fair Debt Collection Practices Act are phone calls and letters. That was basically the first two ways. Then emails were added after that. And it's fair to say that both methods have fallen out of favor with many, if not most, consumers in recent years. The new rule provides guidelines for collectors contacting you through text message, email, and social media. Let me read that again. The new rules provide guidelines for debt collectors contacting you, right? Contacting you using these methods, whether it's text message, email, and social media. Yep. The law allows them now to use social media to reach out to you in connection of a debt. Now, let me read on. Like with phone calls, they need to keep their outreach to reasonable hours, which means that it still have to be after 8 a.m. and before 9 p.m. All right. So whether they text message you, email you, or DM you, it have to be after 8 a.m., whatever your standard time is, after 8 a.m. and before 9 p.m. If they're doing this outside of those parameters, they are in violation of the law, right? And then you have grounds to actually sue them. Every text, email, and DM needs to include instructions on how to opt out of receiving future communications through that method. All right, so let's back up there a little bit. First of all, the new rule basically says, right now, before they can call you 2-3 times a day, right? So let's just talk about the phone calls right now. Before they can call you 2-3 times, at least 2-3 max times a day, right? But now the new rule says they can only call you once a day for 7 days, once a day, up to 7 days. And then after the 7th day, if they have not contacted you, you have not talked to them, then they have to wait 7 more days before they contact you again. All right. That's one part of the rule. The other part of the rule is if they contact you anywhere on the first 7 days. So let's say they call you on the 3rd day and you pick up the phone and you talk to them. After that, they have to wait another 7 days before they can call you again. So they get some parameters, but there's some laws that help us as consumers, right? And we have to know these laws. We have to know them. Otherwise, the debt collectors will take advantage of us. So you have to know these laws. You have to know these rules. So when it comes to phone call, as of today, November 30th, 2021, a debt collector can now only call you once a day for 7 days. If they don't contact you or you don't speak to them the first 7 days, they have to wait another 7 days. Second, if they do contact you anytime during that first 7 days, the day after they contact you, they have to wait 7 more days before they can contact you again. All right, so I hope you guys got that. Good evening. That's right. If you come in the room and you have any questions, definitely put it in the chat. All right. If you're on YouTube, you can chat right in. If you're on Facebook, you just got to give Instagram permission. So somebody said they sent me letters. I don't know. Your name is not showing up here in the chat room. So I need to know, who are you that says they sent me letters? And if they did send you letters, you need to get those letters. If it's debt collection letters, you need to get those letters over to me as soon as possible. But we'll talk about that. Right. So those are those ways right there that they can actually reach out to you. All right. Through phone calls once a day for 7 days. And after that, they have to wait. But if they contact you anytime between those first 7 days, once they contact you, meaning you speak to them over the phone, then they have to wait 7 more days before they can contact you again. All right. Now, then it comes down to now that they can reach out to you through DM, your social media, right? So if they inbox you, right, let's just say they inbox you on Facebook about a debt. They just can't inbox you. They also got to leave instructions on how you can opt out of future inboxes. Just like, you have you get those messages on the phone that says if you want to opt out from receiving any more message, hit stop or put the word stop, and we will no longer contact you through the phone. All right. So the same way when they inbox you on Facebook, or if they DM you on Instagram or inbox you on LinkedIn, they have to leave instructions saying that, hey, if you don't want us to reach out to you no more, then click this link here or put the word stop. They have to give you instructions. Outside of that, if you don't opt out, then the law doesn't say how many times they can do this. They can contact you every day through Facebook, and Instagram or LinkedIn or any social media that has a private message box where they can inbox you or DM you or anything like that, right? But they have to leave instructions on how to opt out. If you don't opt out of that, then they can keep sending you letters, things like that, through emails. All right, so that's important for you to know. And again, the same way the laws say when it comes to phone calls that they can only contact you after 8 a.m. and before 9 p.m., the same thing applies to social media. They can only contact you, DM you through after 8 a.m., your standard time, and before 9 p.m., your standard time. All right, but they do have the right to do that. So a lot of people is going to start seeing these debt collectors inboxing them, and they're going to be like, "Hey, what is this? What's going on? You know what's happening here?" So you guys need to spread the word. Share this video. Your YouTube, hit like, hit share button, share this information so people will not be caught off guard and thinking that something is wrong. As of today, debt collectors can reach out to you now through social media, basically, is what we're saying. All right, so let's read on a little bit here. It also says validating debt is going to be a lot simpler. Now, remember, when you talk to a debt collector, they have to validate the debt. So they'll tell you this is whoever name is. We're calling on behalf of whatever. This is in reference to a communication for a debt. Right? If you want us to validate the debt, send us a letter saying you request this information, and we will send you a letter validating the debt. Yeah, and they have 30 days to do that. They'll say you have 30 days to do that. And then, so now, instead of writing them a letter, because the old way was you would have to write them a letter saying, "Hey, please validate the debt. Give me all the information that shows you owe the debt, how much I owe, how I made the payments and charges, things like that." Now, with the new law, it basically says you don't have to send them a letter. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. The minute they contact you through social media, through the phone, they have to provide that information. So within 5 days after they contact you, either when they first contact you or 5 days after, they have to send you a validation of the debt. Now that's important, right? You guys will understand that. All you guys who are trying to fix your credit and dealing with debt collectors, you know what I'm talking about when it comes to validation of debt, right? You no longer have to write them a letter saying, "Hey, please validate this debt." You can do it if you want to because it keeps a paper trail, but the new law says they actually have to validate the debt the minute they contact you, at the time that they contact you, or 5 days after. All right, they have to validate the debt. So let's read on. Perhaps the most consumer-friendly change is the new requirement that collectors need to provide validation of the debt in question either at the point of first contact, what I just talked about, or within 5 days after the first contact. They got to send you validation. Prior to this rule change, if you wanted clear details on where the debt came from and an itemized breakdown of the charges, you had to request this validation yourself, and collectors would have 30 days to comply. Now, the burden of proof is on the collectors to provide this information up front and in easy to understand format, right? So they got to make it real simple. No big words or jumble stuff. It has to be real simple. Who they are, who they represent, who the original creditor is, signatures, how much breakdown of charges, things like that. So they have to actually validate the debt themselves, right, up front when they contact you or within 5 days after they contact you. All right. Collectors can't report on a debt before contacting the consumer. Now, this is another law that they put in place, right? Collectors can't report on a debt before contacting the consumer, right? For many years, and I've been saying this for years, that debt collectors, I believe according to law, was the first contact you about the debt before they send it to the credit bureaus. They're supposed to contact you before they send that information to the credit bureaus. But typically, when they buy your debt, there was a 50-50 chance that they would either contact you or not. But they would just definitely send it to the credit bureaus. They would, Mike owes this debt, whatever, collection debt, whatever it is. They would just send it to the credit bureaus. Now, the law says, right? That they can't report on a debt before contacting the consumer. So let's see how they break that part down. Here's what it says. There's good news on the credit report front. Collectors will now be prohibited from reporting on a collection debt to the credit bureaus until they, one, spoken to the consumer in person or over the phone about the debt, or send the consumer a message about the debt through mail or email. So they have to contact you in these one or two ways. One, through a phone, in person, well, one or three ways. We say in person, but in person, through the phone, or through text or email. You have to get that. You just can no longer just look at your credit report as of today. Now, not going back. Just as of today going forward, you can't pull your credit report and say, hey, here's something that showed up in December on my credit report from a debt collector. They never contacted me. They can't do that. That's a violation now of the law. They have to, and if you sue them, they got to prove that they did try to contact you. They got to prove it, when they call you over the phone, they record all their phone call messages. So that would be evidence if they had that. Email, yep, they can say, hey, we sent this email letter to so-and-so. Or voice, they can screenshot the voicemail, screenshot the inbox message or the DM message, right? But if they haven't done that, if they haven't talked to you over the phone or in person, or didn't send you a letter through email, DM, inbox, no form of contact, then they cannot report it to the credit bureaus. And then here's another part to that. Once they contact you, or once they DM you about that debt, they can't report it until after 14 days. At least that seems to be the guideline. And so let me just read it here again. If the collector is reaching out via letter or email, they have to wait a reasonable amount of time. 14 days seems to be the guideline to ensure that the message was delivered. So not if they talk to you in person, then they can report it, to the credit bureaus, particularly if you say it's not yours or you're not going to pay it, they can report it. But if they send it to you through letter, text, email, DM, right, then they have to wait 14 days before they can report it to the credit bureau. These are some good information and good things that will help you, the consumer, right, when it comes to cleaning up your credit and dealing with debt collectors. And the next thing is, and the last thing that we're going to talk about, collectors can't sue for expired debts. Now, this is very important. Debts don't really expire. I'm reading now, quote, debts don't really expire, but each state does maintain statute of limitations, meaning how long a person can sue for a debt. Right? That spells out how long a creditor has to take legal action to collect an unpaid debt. Once that statute of limitation has passed, which could be anywhere from 3 to 10 years, depending on where you live, right? You have to check your state for statute of limitation, particularly on credit card debts and revolving debts and things like that. The creditor or collector may still try to sue you, but if you can prove that the statute of limitation has passed, you almost always will win your case. And this is what I always tell my clients, particularly in the beginning, when a debt collector tries to sue them. First, let's find out is the statute of limitation passed in your state. If it hasn't passed, okay, then we got to deal with it through another way. But if it is passed, then they can't legally sue you, right? They can't threaten to sue you if they know that the debt can't be sued. They can't sue for that debt. If they threaten you with that or coerce you or anything like that, that's a violation of the law, of course. All right. So again, they can't sue you for debts that they know has been expired. Right. They call time barred debts, meaning that in the state of New Jersey, you have 6 years to sue somebody for an open account. Right, a credit card account or anything like that. You have 6 years to file a lawsuit, and that starts from the day it first goes into collection. Right, after 6 years, not when you first open the account, but when it first goes into collection. You have 6 years to sue you. After 6 years, they can't sue you. They can ask you to still pay it, but they can't take you to court anymore because the statute of limitation has run out. So that's important for you to know when it comes to dealing with that. Right. Now it says many consumers don't know this, which some collectors may use to their advantage by using threats of a lawsuit to coerce the consumer to making payment. The new rules of the FDCPA, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, explicitly prohibit collectors from threatening to sue on debts where the statute of limitation has passed. All right. Now, they can't sue, right? So here's the drawbacks to some of these laws that we're talking about. While these changes are largely consumer-friendly and should improve many elements of the debt collection practices, there are two drawbacks. One, first, while it is nice to be able to pick and choose your preferred method of communication, particularly if you're interested in working with a collection company, things could get hectic and frustrating fast with collectors on the phone, in your DMs, in your inbox, in your text, and on and on. Conspicuously absent in these new laws is a limit to how often collectors can text, email, and DM you. In other words, without the absence of knowledge, they can keep sending you these letters. They're not limited by the way they're limited when it comes to phone calls until you opt out. And there's no universal opt-out. You got to opt out of each one. If they send you a letter through Facebook, you got to opt out there. If they send you a letter through email, you can opt out. You have to opt out there. If they send it to you in Instagram, you have to opt out in that one. If they send it to you through LinkedIn inbox, then you have to opt out through that. All right. So that's a little drawback. You have to opt out of each one. Second, the increase in digital communication is almost certainly going to come with an increase of scams, right? Because this is that last part, scams. So you'll need to be on alert to separate the real collectors from the fake ones. Because, anytime laws come out, there are people who are always trying to scam that they're a collector, this and that. So you got to be careful of who you're talking to, of who you're responding back to. I would just opt out of everything and say, hey, send me something in the mail that I owe you, and let me look at that. That's still the best form of communication, I would say. Send me something through the mail. Right, and then it'll have basically your company name, your name, the original creditor, and all that good stuff, right? So I wait for that validation letter to come, right, before I start dealing with anybody through these social medias, because they could be legitimate or they could be scams. So you want to be careful when it comes to that. All right, so that's just what I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you hit that YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that like and subscribe button as we're starting a new phase of talking to you guys about credit. Facebook Live, share the video. Facebook family and my private group, share the video. Any information you need to contact me will be in the description. All right. So with that in mind, you guys have a blessed day. If you have any questions, you can type it in. We'll be glad to answer it. Have a blessed day. Stay blessed. Whatever you do, stay blessed. But what's even more important is that you are a blessing. With that, have a blessed day.